episode of Rich, Hot, and Free. I'm Jill Stanton. Today, we are diving into one key factor that will absolutely catapult you into your next level of freedom, growth, success, impact, visibility, money, power, identity, magnetism, authenticity, all the things. Everything you say you want, this is a key factor to you getting that. Because look, everyone says they want the result. Everyone wants the goal. Everyone wants the win. Everyone wants the desire, the outcome, the result. But very few people are willing to do the work to become the version of themselves who has that thing, who is the kind of person who achieves that thing. So they say they want the goal, the momentum, the money, the success, the impact, the freedom, the ease, the magnetism. But are they really living as the one who creates that? I think that's where a lot of women get tripped up, to be honest. That's where they stall. They don't stall because they don't know how to do it. They stall because they're scared to make the decision. They're scared of what might happen when they actually do pull the trigger on it. They're scared of who they have to become in service of that. And I think that is what slows so many women down, especially in a year like this year. If you're having a hard year, it might feel very intimidating to make big moves or make big decisions in service of who you want to be. And also, that is how you become the one who wins on repeat. That is how you become the one who has the freedom, who is a match to the money, who is a match to the level of ease and spaciousness and success and impact that you desire. It's not a strategy thing. I say this all the time. Most of you don't have a strategy problem. Most of the people who experience this kind of thing have an identity gap. They say they want certain things, but they aren't willing to be the version of themselves who creates those things, who has those things, who is that. And that's where it stops. They say they want it, but they aren't willing to back it with the decision and the actions that match the version of them who would have that, who would create that, who would experience that. It's the decisions and the actions that most people overlook when they're on the journey to creating everything they say they want, because they aren't willing to become the version of themselves who has it. And that's where they get stuck in their growth, in their journey. They default back to what feels comfortable. They stay in who they currently are. But if you want a new level of growth, if you want a bigger level of impact, if you want to make more money, if you want to have more peace in your life, more alignment in your life, if you want to feel more powerful in your life, then you have to become that version of yourself. And the gasoline behind that is not just the clarity. Okay, it's real easy to create a vision board. It's real easy to list out everything you say you want. It's a whole other beast for you to become the version of yourself who is that, who creates that, who makes those decisions and backs it with action. Because most people just want the result. That's where it ends for them. But they don't want the responsibility that comes with it. And so we hear people saying that they want 100K months, but then they back it with action, like still saying yes to misaligned clients because they quote unquote need the money. Or they say they want time freedom, but then they refuse to delegate because it's just quote unquote easier if they do it. Or they want to go bigger in their launches, but they aren't willing to take the risk of putting money into ads and traffic and visibility. They aren't willing to be rejected or misunderstood, or judged, or criticized in service of getting their message out there in a bigger way. That's what I mean by this. Everyone says they want the thing. So few people are willing to become it. And that is the unlock. The unlock, the catalyst to all of this is decisions and actions. Like I said, it's real easy to sit in a lovely little mindset of like, what do I want to create next year? Who do I want to become? It's a whole other thing to actually move in service of that. And so people who say they want to grow their audience or they want to make more money, but then they water themselves down, or they lead with safe messaging, or they operate in pick-me energy or nice girl energy, or they abuse their own boundaries, or they price based on what they think will convert, or they do things that feel like marketable or strategic, but they aren't magnetic. And if you say you want a bigger life, you want more money, more clients, more visibility, more magic, more magnetism, insert anything here, but you're still operating as your current self, then you can't expect future results. It's an energetic mismatch. You don't get the future results, the goals, the wins, the desires without becoming the energetic match for that. And the energetic match for that is someone who shows up and makes decisions in service of the version of them who has that thing. So many people think that they'll get to the desire or the goal by continuing to operate as who they have been. That's not how it works. If you want something you've never done, you have to become someone you've never been. And that's where most people drop their power, because they're scared of the uncertainty that comes with that. Because it looks like raising your standards. It looks like deepening your personal power. It looks like becoming more grounded and emotionally mature and emotionally intelligent. It looks like making different decisions. It looks like creating different boundaries. It looks like phasing certain people out of your life. It looks like saying yes to certain opportunities or no to certain clients. It looks like you deepening your power around your messaging, your conviction, what you want to be saying, what you want to be known for, what you want people to know about you. Showing up more authentically, more in your power, more in your magnetism, more of yourself, more rooted in your self-expression, in your audacity, in your authenticity. That's how you become that. Like I said, you don't get to the goal without going through the ups and downs, the decisions, the actions, the embodiment that makes you a match for that thing you say you want. If you haven't experienced it yet, it's because you are not operating as the version of yourself who has that thing. And I concretely believe it's the decisions part of this, decisions and actions, that are these like energetic declarations around who you're willing to become or who you're ready to become. And I feel as though every big outcome that you say you want is preceded by a bold decision. It happens in the moments where you're like, well, I don't want this. It happens when you are willing to release the comfort zone and embrace, lean into discomfort in service of your own expansion. That's how you become it. You become it by becoming it, by making decisions in service of her, by taking actions in service of her, setting boundaries in service of her, raising prices in service of her, saying yes to certain clients in service of her, putting certain content or certain offers or certain messaging out there in service of her. You don't get to the goal by being your current self. If that was an energetic match to who you say you want to be, you'd already be it. The reason you don't have it is because you're not showing up in alignment with that version of you. And the key to that is courage. It takes courage to align yourself with your future self. Most people don't do this work. When you ask them what they want, they just rattle off a bunch of random shit. Like, oh, I want to make 100K months, or oh, I want to do this, or oh, I want to do that. But then when you ask them to be the version of themselves who has that, they draw a blank. They don't know who that version of them is. So ask yourself, the version of you who's killing it, like $1 million you, multi-million-dollar you, Oprah rich you. How does she make decisions? Who does she have in her life? What offers is she selling? How does she show up in her business? What are the kind of things she says? How does she allow herself to be seen? What are the kind of moves she makes? What are the kind of investments she makes? What are the kind of conversations she has with the people who are closest to her? How does she hold herself in the uncertainty? How does she lead herself in the unknown? How does she pick herself back up after a hard moment? How does she navigate a failed launch or a hard promotion or disappointment or feeling let down or feeling betrayed? How does she show up in those moments? Once you start getting clear on that, that's when the rest of the picture becomes crystal clear. Because then you just start to step by step, action by action, shift by shift, mold yourself, become that version of yourself. You align yourself with that version of yourself, that frequency. You already are it. It's just about peeling back the ways you're not being that. So you can soften into it. You can lean into it. You can move like it. You can start showing up as her. And again, most people won't do this because it's uncomfortable. And then they complain about having a hard year or not being where they want to be or not getting the kind of results they want to get. And then when you have a hard conversation with them, you realize that they're not even making the kind of fucking moves that would be aligned with her. They think it's too scary. Meanwhile, $1 million, future multi-million dollar version of them would be unfazed by those kind of decisions. You say you want the millions, and yet you scoff at a $2,000 offer. You say you want to make 100K months, and you won't even invest in the coaching program that would get you there. You say you want, I don't know, $1 million a year, and you're trying to do everything on your own. You say you want a $500,000 quarter, and yet you won't invest in traffic or visibility. You won't run funnels. You won't get out there more. You won't have stronger messaging, more savage standards, more savage offers. You won't infuse more audacity into what you say and sell, the content you put out there. And that's the shit that's keeping you stuck in this current phase of your evolution and your growth and your expansion. Your current results is the perfect match for who you've been being. You want to see your identity in action? Look around at your results. If they aren't where you want them to be, if you aren't where you want to be, if your business isn't where you want it to be, if your relationship isn't where you want it to be, if your health isn't where you want it to be, that is a reflection of who you've been being. That is a reflection of your previous beliefs. That is a reflection of your previous level of courage. It takes courage to change your life. It takes courage to expand into the discomfort. It takes courage to take a risk, to become more, to become bigger, to go bigger, to do things bigger, to be seen bigger, to charge bigger, have bigger fulfillment, bigger groups, bigger visibility. You want bigger? Start making bigger decisions, solving bigger problems, holding bigger boundaries, selling bigger offers. You don't get that without backing it with decisions and actions. That is a key part of identity that most people don't talk about. Your identity is not just your beliefs. It's what you're willing to back those beliefs up with. Are you willing to move? Are you willing to show yourself what you're made of? That's how you get there. You make a decision and you move, non-circumstantially, in alignment with who future you would move as. Would she even be fazed about running traffic to an offer? Would she even be fazed about a one-off launch? Would she be fazed about some keyboard cowboy having all the opinions on her content? No. She would be unfucking bothered by all of it, because she would know that she can handle it no matter what comes up for her. How much are you showing up with that level of conviction in your business and life? If you still have work to do here, I get it. You don't have to make these grand declarations and monumental decisions right away, but you do have to make them if you want to move. If you want more, you have to show up more. Not just in content, for yourself. More courage, more leadership, more power, stronger identity, bigger standards. That's how you become it. You become it by becoming it. Because I'll tell you right now, none of this comes from you just wanting it. Like, wanting is a state of not having. It's real easy to want something. I'm hungry, I want a cheeseburger. Okay, well, if I actually want to eat a cheeseburger, I have to make a decision to pick up my phone, take an action of ordering Uber Eats and getting a cheeseburger delivered to me, or making a cheeseburger. Wanting is a perpetual state of not having. You don't get what you want. You get what you're willing to move for. And this is why I love the work of courage, because courage compounds. The more you trust yourself to make a hard decision, the more you trust yourself to make a big move, you build the muscle of courage. And shortly after making that decision and having the courage to move on it, you realize it really wasn't that big of a deal. And so then your next act of courage compounds on that one. Well, if I can do that, then I could definitely do this. Courage compounds when you have the guts to do it. And that's why most people won't grow. That's why most people will never make $1 million in their business, because they get too in their head and they don't get back in their power and cultivate the courage that it takes to grow, to become the next version of themselves. Like I said, everything you're experiencing right now is a result of the thoughts, feelings, and actions that you've taken in the past. It's a reflection of your beliefs. It's a reflection of your standards. It's a reflection of your self-worth, your self-concept, your self-image, and what you're willing to go to bat for, what you're willing to allow yourself to have, what you're willing to allow yourself to become. That takes courage. And that's why most people won't do it. So how do you get clear on these decisions that you need to make? One thing you can ask yourself is, what's the decision that I already know I need to make, but I keep avoiding? What is that for you? Name one decision that you already know you want to make. You just haven't had the guts to either admit it to yourself or follow through on it. Is it a client boundary? Maybe it's ending a program that no longer fits. Maybe it's increasing your prices. Maybe it is hiring another level of support. Maybe it's hiring the mentor that you want to hire. Maybe it's pivoting into something that actually lights you up. Maybe it's allowing yourself to be seen more as yourself, deepening your authenticity, deepening your vulnerability, showing up more fully self-expressed. What is the decision that you already know you need to make? You just haven't found the guts to do it yet. Answer yourself honestly. Because if you allow yourself, if you give yourself the time and the quiet to actually have that answer pop up, it will come up for you like that. Because you already know the answer. You just haven't admitted it to yourself yet, or have the guts to communicate it yet. And if you really can't figure that answer out for yourself, one question I love prompting myself with and my clients with is, if you already knew that you were going to make $1 million in 2026, what would you no longer say yes to? What would you no longer be doing? What would you no longer be available for? Or what would you start doing? What standards would you raise? How would you show up? What would you no longer worry about? What kind of actions would you take? If you knew for sure that you were going to make $1 million next year, what would you no longer worry about? What would you no longer stress over? What would you no longer try to control? What would you admit to yourself that you'd outgrown? And as those answers come up for you, ask yourself, as you start to get more clarity, as you start to make decisions, does this feel heavy or light for me? When I was making the decision around bringing this conversation up with Josh, right, around my marriage, well, does that feel heavy or light to me? It felt really light, to be real and to be transparent and to be honest about what I was desiring. And the second I brought that up, he was right there with me, sharing what felt real and true and light for him. It just so happened we were on the same page. We were both just scared to admit it. Because holy shit, when you make a decision like that, you have to back it with action. You don't just toss a grenade into your marriage and say like, okay, but let's just forget we had this conversation. Most people know what they want. They're just not willing to say it out loud or to back it with action because it's scary. But again, future you, tapping into that version of you, what does her business look like? What decisions does she make? What does her relationship look like? Who does she have in her life? What standards, what boundaries, what offers, what team members? What's her marriage or her relationship like? Does she have kids? What is her relationship like with them? What's her relationship like with herself? How does she feel about other people's outrage or projections or opinions? Because as you start to make aligned decisions for yourself in service of who you want to become, people are going to have opinions about it. They're going to project their limitations onto you. That's where tapping into that future version of yourself is so critical in these moments. Would she be fazed by some random internet stranger who has an opinion on a decision you've made? Probably not. She'd probably just be like, forgive and delete. This is the power of future self-work. Because once you know how she would operate, well, now the work becomes being that. Step by step, shift by shift, decision by decision, action by action. Like I said, you become it by becoming it. Little by little, every single day, in the micro moments. That's how you go to bat for yourself. That's how you become that version of yourself. By showing up as her consciously in the micro moments. Consciously and consistently. Until it just is who you are. That's just the kind of money you make. Those are just the kind of boundaries you have. That's just what your marriage is like. That's just how you are as a mom. That's just how life goes for you. That's just the people you have in your life. Oh, I make this much because that's just how I roll. I have these kind of loving friendships because that's just what I allow in my life. My marriage is this because that's just what I expect. It's the process of normalizing it for yourself. Being it on the regular, making those decisions. Because I'll tell you right now, indecision, if you keep looping in indecision, I promise you right now, that is a slight form of self-abandonment. Indecision is you not having or cultivating the power in the moment to make the decision you know is in your highest alignment. That's a form of self-abandonment. And it's a reflection of how you currently see yourself and how you value yourself. And I know that can be hard to hear, but it's true. If you know you want something, but you aren't making the decision to become it or be it or put it into motion, that's a reflection of how you see yourself and what you're willing to allow for yourself, who you're willing to become in service of your highest alignment. And I know deep down, if you are feeling the urge to go bigger, then that has to be met with a higher level of courage, a higher level of audacity to go for it, because most people won't. So how do you communicate these decisions? One thing that I've realized in my life is that not everyone needs an explanation. The people who deeply matter in your life, they can have an explanation if it feels aligned to you. The right people deserve clarity. I fully acknowledge that. And also, not everyone needs a decision, or not everyone needs an explanation from you. Not every single person needs all the details of who you are, why you're doing something, what you're choosing to do, what's going on for you. Just the right people, the people who matter the most to you. And so how we communicate these decisions is from a place of transparency, honesty, and vulnerability. You don't have to apologize for it. You can be direct in how you communicate decisions. You can be loving in how you communicate decisions, but you do not need to apologize for making decisions. You do not need to apologize for making decisions that are in your best interest, in your highest alignment. And so, like I said, you can be honest with people. You can tell them what's going on for you. And then you can simply state, like it's a statement of fact, like this is no longer aligned for me, or this is the decision I've made in service of doing this or becoming this or creating this or having this. You don't need to overly fluff it up for people. People are stronger than you give them credit for. Most people will love you no matter what. Most people who want the best for you in your life will back you or at least support you in their own way. You don't need everyone to agree with you. You need to be in alignment with you. No one else has to get your decisions. You have to get them. And then just realize that, yes, some people might have questions. Yes, some people might have reactions. Yes, some people might have, I don't know, like they might push boundaries or want more info from you. It's all good. They can have their own reaction. That does not need to affect you. Their projections, their opinions of you or your decisions or your circumstances or your situations does not have to be true for you. It can simply be a reflection of their current identity or their current level of understanding. That's it. You do not have to make it mean anything about you. If they're in support of your decision or not, it's neutral. All that matters is that you back your decision, that you feel good about it, that it feels in alignment and true for you. Your only job is to anchor into your truth. That's it. And communicate it with the people who need to know. And then just remember that You simply cannot create a wildly fulfilling, wildly successful, impactful, spacious life without being misunderstood at some point. But again, their misunderstanding, their judgment, their criticism, their rejection, their projections mean nothing about you. You do not have to take it on and internalize it. You can simply thank them for sharing their opinion or sharing their perspective and move on. You're stronger than someone else's opinion of you. I promise you that. And if you truly want to experience the most alive, magnetic, radiant, vibrant life, then you need to stop fucking around and start making the decisions and taking the actions that are in the highest alignment with that version of you. I promise you right now, the second you cultivate the courage to do that, a whole other world will open up for you, and you will tap into a level of momentum and magnetism that is truly fucking unignorable. And when you become that, wins start happening, opportunities start flowing, synchronicities start dropping into your life, and everything starts to feel better, easier, more aligned, and more like the highest version of you. And when that happens for you, you'll be so happy, so grateful, so proud of yourself for making a decision in service of your highest alignment. That's what I want for you. I want you in your truth and your highest power fucking going for it. Full audacity, full courage, full alignment, full momentum, pure savagery. Just you in your highest power, living your ultimate best fucking life, because that's what you deserve. All right, enough out of me. Thank you so much for tuning in this week. If you're not already subscribed to the show, make sure you do that so you never miss another episode. And let's connect on IG at I am Jill Stanton. Shoot me a DM. Let me know what landed for you. And if you needed a message like this, I want to hear about it. And if you know someone else who needs this message, I would be so grateful if you shared this episode with them. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.